Hello jewelers! In this video, I'm going to be teaching you the exact framework that I used in my business to get me 10K orders from shops and to get consistent sales through my website. I teach this exact framework to my one-to-one clients and it's helped them to get more consistent sales in their businesses. The reason why this framework works so well is because it helps you put systems and strategies into place so that you can build a really strong foundation for your business, and this will enable you to quit your 9-to-5 and become your own boss too. Loads of people have been asking me if I have a course on this, but at the moment I've just got my one-to-one where I work with a few select clients. But I'm actually thinking of releasing a course probably in September. So here I'll be teaching people how to get consistent sales in their businesses. So let me know if this is something you'd be interested in. I'm still toying with the idea. So there's a link in the description. So join the waitlist. Let me know if you're interested. Obviously, if there's people interested, then I'm going to go ahead with it. So let's take a closer look at this framework. We all want sales, right? But sales can't just happen if you haven't put everything into place before that. Working on things in a logical order, building up, is the way to do it. So if we want sales, what do we need to do before that? We need to do marketing, right? So marketing is obviously in different forms. So we've got organic marketing, influencer marketing, email marketing, word of mouth, all kinds of different ways of marketing your jewelry. And that will depend very much on who you are and how you like to run your business. If you do a lot of in-person events, for example, then that's going to be a lot of word of mouth, and you won't have to worry about all kinds of other outreach, such as influencer marketing, for example, because you're there in person. But for example, if you're not able to do that, then you still need to get your jewelry in front of somebody else, right? In front of your ideal audience. Finding how to do that is really important. Obviously, we can use Instagram, which is free. But the problem with Instagram and relying on that solely is the fact that it is a platform that's always changing. The algorithm is always changing and you can't always be in control of who sees your work and if the person who you want to see your work is going to see it at the right time. So we also need to rely on emails as well. So getting people's emails is super, super important because that way you're able to control who you're advertising to. So on Instagram, the algorithm may change and then suddenly you'll be showing it to somebody who's interested in, I don't know, restaurants or something completely random, and you have on your email list a group of people who have actually signed up because they're saying, yes, I want to hear more from you. So often we feel a bit icky about like, oh, but I'm going to bombard them with emails and, maybe they're not interested. But the truth of the matter is they have signed up because they want to hear from you. So sending them emails is totally fine. If they don't want to hear from you, they can just unsubscribe. So you always have a little unsubscribe on the bottom and they are free to do that and they know that. So don't ever feel bad about that. So emails obviously involves a lot of setting things up initially if you do it properly so that you're not there physically always writing the email every single time and emailing it to everybody individually. You want to set up lists and you want to create flows. So flows are systems of emails that you put into place ahead of time so that you have a trigger, and when somebody does XYZ, such as signs up, then they're going to be joined into a particular flow of emails, so such as a welcome series or abandoned cart series, anything like that. So I cover this in way more detail, obviously, in my one-to-one, and it is a really, really great way to automate things because you need to try and take yourself out of it as much as you can, because if you're there physically doing every single thing all the time, then that's going to take your time away from doing the things that are important, so taking you out of your zone of genius. So we want to avoid that as much as possible. So next, obviously, we can't market if we don't have your branding in place, right? So you need to market your brand. So you need to understand what your brand is. So you need to have your branding clear. So your branding is essentially all the visual elements that speak to your ideal customer and tell them what your brand stands for. So what its values are, what it's all about, who's interested in this. So if you have a really clear brand, based on that, the people who really are interested are going to fall in love with it straight away because they're going to be, oh my God, that's totally for me. Think about like jewelry for teens, for example. Obviously, that's going to be branded completely and utterly differently to jewelry branded to corporate young female entrepreneurs, for example. You're not going to use the same branding. You're not going to use the same colors, the same fonts. Basically, branding in terms of like colors and fonts is a subtle way of influencing the way people feel about a brand. Without them knowing, they're influenced by the psychology of colors. You know, you've all heard about, for example, all the food chains, the fast food chains, they always use like red and yellow because those make us feel hungry, apparently. And more colors like blue, for example, are more kind of authoritative, calm, you know, sometimes corporate as well. And so you need to choose colors that have the correct association for your brand. And obviously this is all going to be based on knowing your unique selling point, so your USP, so that it speaks directly to your customers. Also within branding, we also have what we call messaging. So messaging is the way that your brand sounds. Somebody was actually asking in the comments on my previous video about how to be confident in your marketing in terms of an online business, because it was all about being in person in a market. And my answer to that is it's in the way that you word things. So in your descriptions of your products on your website, you can come across as sounding really confident, really friendly, really bubbly, or really professional, high luxury. So the way that you would talk to that customer in real life is the same way you need to then like structure the way that you word things on your website, for example. You're basically putting yourself in front of them in an online way, but you want to be talking to them directly rather than putting things like, I think, you know, there's certain words that obviously kind of like make you think this person isn't very confident. Like, oh, I was thinking, you know, you just sounding unsure in any way is what you want to eliminate. So I chose this. You be confident about your decisions in your brand. So that is a way that you can come across as more confident in an online setting. Now that you've got all of your branding, obviously your branding is not going to work unless it's based on something, right? So based on your unique selling point and your business's values. So what does your business stand for? What is important to it? So knowing that helps you have a point to connect with your customers more. So understanding what is important to you means that it's also going to be important to them. So that's why identifying your target audience is part of that as well. So who are you speaking to and how can you connect with them? So a lot of people also talk about, you know, being worried about like having lots of different styles of jewelry and not being sure about what you want. And it is really, really important when you can to narrow that down and choose one kind of style. So whether you're making like beaded jewelry, you're making wire jewelry, you're making stone setting, then you're making like really elaborate silver jewelry, then you're doing some gold pieces, that's all going to look like what I call a garage sale. So you want to avoid that, because if you, for example, were to lay that all out and someone were to look at that, they wouldn't have a clue what your brand's about, who it's for, and what it stands for. So you need to choose a specific technique that you feel you can go to like all the time. When I first created my first collection, I had my ideas of what I wanted to do. When I created my second collection, then I really worried a lot about like, oh, is my second collection gonna look like it's the same designer? Because obviously I had a different inspiration for that next collection. But everyone I asked, because obviously I asked around to get feedback, and everyone said they can clearly see that it's the same designer, that it's still made by me, even though the idea is different. The reason for this is because I used similar techniques and similar materials, and I have a particular style. So for you, whether that is like gemstones and you have gemstones throughout all of your collections, that's one thing that can lead you through, or gemstones and silver. Maybe a collection doesn't have gemstones, but it has silver, and the silver base in the jewelry is what links all of the collections together, and you have some gemstones here or there, that's okay. But what I mean is by like having really low entry level like beaded jewelry and then some really expensive, you know, sterling silver jewelry that's taking you a really long time to make. That obviously doesn't come across as a cohesive collection, right? So if you think about like wrapped wire jewelry, that isn't gonna really go so well with your silver jewelry. So to sum up your values of your business, make sure that you know what you stand for, know what's important to you and your brand, and know who it is for. All of that sounds good and well, but if you don't have the correct mindset, then that isn't gonna work, because you're not engaged in it, you're not there for the long run. Because the way that I look at it is success is not a destination, and it's not something that some people are and some people aren't, and you know, the lucky few get to be successful. It is a mindset. And having a success mindset means, to me, you wake up in the morning, you're happy, you're excited to do whatever there is to do. So I work freaking damn hard in my business. I'm not gonna lie, it's not easy running a jewelry business, but you need to be excited about it and passionate about it. So figuring out your why is really important. So what drives you? Why is this something you're passionate about? Having your why helps you to really push through all of those challenging times, because you will have challenges, you will have ups and downs, and that's completely natural. We're human, it's life, you know. Having that success mindset and that ability to go through the obstacles, work through them, rather than giving up each time you get to one is really, really important. So understanding the kinds of things that you're going to have in terms of limiting beliefs about yourself, your success of your business, or the failure of your business is really important to understand that in terms of making sure that you're aware of the things that you might stumble across along the way to getting those consistent sales. So we start with that because it is super, super important to make sure that you're able to overcome all of those things. And if we look at this pyramid in reverse, obviously, the reason that it goes this way with the sales on top is because you need to have that really strong foundation. One, in your mindset, so that you're in the game and you're in it for the long run, because you need to be committed and dedicated to making this happen, because it's not going to be easy, but if you're passionate and excited about it, you're going to be able to do it no matter what. So having your mindset is super, super important. Once we've got our mindset in place, then we can work out our business values because we're in the right headspace for that already, and we can start creating the foundation for your actual business. Then with that foundation, work out your branding, your target audience, and your USP. With that in place, then you can work on your marketing, and then with that all in place, then you should get those consistent sales. So if you want to see those consistent sales in your business, you need to make sure you have all of those things in place before you expect to have any sales. You might have some sales coming in from friends or family and doing a little market here and there, but if you want those consistent sales, all of that needs to be super crystal clear, because you'll feel a whole lot more confident about your business. You'll be able to talk to people comfortably, freely. Having a USP means that you have a connecting point with a group of people who are interested in your jewelry, and that is so great in terms of selling to them. So that is basically the framework. So if you're interested in seeing this in a course, drop your email down below in the waitlist. If there are enough people interested, then I will launch it in September. So I hope you found that helpful, and I look forward to seeing you next week in another video. Take care. Bye.